we're fired up to have Cleveland Guardians pitcher, Edmonton's own Erik Sabrowski in studio. Erik, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I think we got to pull you right in. Sorry about that. Thank you very much for coming by. Quickly, I first talked to you in person. You were pitching for the Prospects, right? You got drafted, and I went to the field, and I actually think we stood in the dugout and did the interview, didn't we?
That sounds
and
right.
But that was the Padres that drafted you, right?
It was.
And then did you re-enter the draft, or was it the Rule 5 draft? What was it?
It's called the Rule 5 draft. It's a minor league thing, so teams can't really hoard players.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But since now and then, man, you've been through a lot. Before we dive into some of the specifics, can you just talk about your perseverance and getting through all the bumps in the journey?
I think I'm a product of the people I place around myself, and I have, an amazing fiance and an amazing family, and just an awesome support staff who, help me get through the day to day.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's just crazy to know that you've got a player from Edmonton that's pitching in the big leagues. When did you first discover baseball, and when did it become something that was just more than, hey, you're going to play baseball and little league, or you went to play rep ball or whatever they call it now? At what age were you when you discovered that this is a passion and this might be something you can take further to the next level?
Well, I grew up watching the Jays on TSN. We had the Trappers. I'm sure I went to a few of those games when I was younger. And it was just, I liked playing catch with my dad. We would go to this park. We lived in Patricia Heights. And we go hit baseballs in the park till dark. And, it was at that time he maybe thought I'd be a hitter one day, but pitching was a little later. But it was something that always interested me. And when I was 14 is when I kind of decided, I love baseball. This is what I want to, I want to hopefully play college baseball. And it was something that I dove into full time.
Was it hard to, sorry, Jay, was it hard to see that path, though, being a Canadian, and I guess a Northern Canadian, just to an extent, because it's not like, oh, I want to play in the NHL and there's a team in my town and Lee Fogelin or Charlie Huddy lives down the block or whatever. Was it hard to picture how you would get from Edmonton to the big leagues when you were that age?
Well, the big leagues weren't really in sight till I probably got to college, but it was just about trying to get to the next level. I played AA through I think it's 13U now, Pee Wee, and then it was how do I get to play AAA? And then when I got to AAA, it was, oh man, the Edmonton Prospects play in my backyard. That would be cool to play for, and then so on and so forth to to college and then getting drafted.
Yeah.
Now, as a young guy, I know when you're throwing it around and you're screwing around with your buddies and you're throwing the baseball and everybody's trying to trying to get some movement on the ball, and you're like, oh, it moved, but for you, what was the progression of pitches? Did you start with just a straight fastball and then move into a curveball, or how does that work when you're growing in your sport?
Well, I think when I was playing Mosquito and Pee Wee, the rules were fastball changeup only. So I guess to protect arm health.
Like a curveball at that age?
Probably not. Right. If I wanted to, it wouldn't have done much. And then it was, fastball changeup, and then you get into the higher levels, and it was, you should probably add a breaking ball. And that's kind of when I figured out I had a pretty decent curveball.
Okay. Let's do the grips now. I know you pitched at Yankee Stadium and all that kind of stuff, and in the playoffs.
Or do I need to show this off?
Okay, well, just for the people on YouTube, you just hold it up.
Sure.
I know if you're listening on TuneIn or iHeart, it won't be. We'll try to describe it. So how do you grip the ball for a fastball?
I just hold it across the seams, kind of right through here. That's where my pressure is.
Okay.
And my thumb is tucked underneath.
So, quick story.
Yeah.
When I was working at City TV, Ryan Jesperson, I don't know if you know him, we went to the Edmonton Capitals, and they said, show us how to throw a pitch. And the pitching coach said, hardly put any pressure on the ball, and he had me hold it like this, just with the tips and just on the bottom. So that's not how you would ever do it.
He was messing with you.
He was screwing around with us?
Okay. Absolutely.
Okay.
There's not a pitch that gets thrown like that, unfortunately.
Unless he thought we were so...
You were maybe
not
so
advanced. Yeah.
Maybe you were too advanced to throwing him on fastball.
Yes, thank you.
So in your toolbox, what are your top let's say, 3 go-to pitches?
Well, I only throw 3. That's
You
the
only
beauty.
throw-
That's the
okay.
beauty of being a reliever.
They're all good.
Yeah.
I don't need too many. I like to think they're all good. Thank you. Some days they are. Some days they're not.
So you got a fastball.
Yeah, a slider and a curveball.
Okay, this is a great question. What the heck is the difference between a slider and a curveball?
A curveball is going to have more vertical drop. So it's going to go down more.
Okay.
And a slider is usually going to have a little more horizontal movement. It's going to be straighter. It's going to have less drop, but it's going to more like move like 4 or 5 inches towards your glove. Whereas a curveball is going to drop, 10, 15, depending on how you throw it, and be a little more, for me at least, a little more straighter. It's going to go straight down versus kind of sweeping to the side.
Okay, so how different is the grip for those 3 pitches?
So, like we said, the fastball's here.
Fastballs like that.
Then
okay.
my slider, I just tilt it. And when I throw it, I try and think about ripping down on it and just creating spin like this.
Okay.
Kind of like a bullet.
All right.
And the bullet spin allows it to, stay straight for 40 feet and then start sliding. I guess
Okay.
that's why they call it a
right.
slider,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
Yeah, we got you.
And then my curveball, I put my finger on this seam here and I spike my finger.
Oh, so you're in. So he's holding his index finger almost
Like
with
the nail.
almost digging
Yeah.
your nail in.
And for me, I found that, the spiking it versus having just both fingers there, I'm able to throw it with more depth.
Oh, okay.
And so,
So when-
pitching's all about having a separation in how your ball moves.
Okay.
And so my fastball goes straight like this. I want my curveball to go down off of that. Things like that.
Okay, so when you're on the mound, you're getting the signals from the catcher. How in tune are you though with knowing what your catcher is going to call? I mean, you don't want to be shaking them off all the time, do you?
No, I do have a tendency to shake a few too many times. Sometimes I'm pretty stubborn up
Okay.
there. But so we go through a scouting report before we play a team. We talk about all the hitters, their tendencies, what they're good at hitting, what they're bad at hitting. And so I kind of have an idea of what pitch the catcher is going to call.
Yeah.
That and basing it off of a previous swing.
Oh, right. So usually you guys know the progression or what he may be hot or cold on as a
Yeah.
hitter that day.
Correct.
Okay. So, but if you shake off a catcher, does he ever like put down the same sign and be like, Sabrowski, I want you to throw this, baby?
It's happened before, yeah.
Yes.
It's happened before.
And then are there
And-
dugout conversations after?
Yeah, but that was the best part about being a rookie is I was always learning. Whether
Okay.
I threw well or threw poorly, like there was always a conversation to be had. There was always something to learn upon and just like, no one's got it figured out, especially someone with a month in the big leagues. Like
Right.
I got a lot more to learn and that was one of my favorite parts of it, just, all the knowledge that there was to be gained.
So we've got Erik here. We're going to have him on until, about 5:20 or whatnot. So I want to get into, obviously, talking about the big leagues and all that. But as an Edmontonian, you said you went to the prospects. And what was the next steps that took you? And why did you choose the colleges you chose? And how did that help in getting you to where you are now?
So a lot of that, honor goes to, Taylor Burns. He's my trainer. He was my Prospects Baseball Academy coach, now defunct Prospects Academy. He was the one that kind of, shaped me to be who I was as a baseball player. And he was the one who was making the phone calls for me to junior colleges all across the United States, saying, we think this guy can play for you, this and that. With that academy I talked about, we would do a trip down to Kansas in the fall. And during that trip, we would scrimmage a bunch of the junior colleges and, with the hopes of the, 12th grade and gap year guys getting a scholarship out of it. And I just happened to play really well against a school. And there happened to be another school in attendance actually watching that. And that's how I ended up at Cisco College in Texas. One of their coaches had driven up and was just watching baseball and actually offered a scholarship to me and 2 other players on that team.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
wow.
did they go too?
Yeah. The 3 of us went down together.
So how many years were you at Cisco College, and when was the point where? Because at that point, did you think, okay, this could become something where I'm getting drafted, or, you know, at what point of that, and how many years were you at Cisco?
I was there for one, and my experience there could not have been further from the one that got me drafted.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't the place for me. My exit meeting with the coach, actually, he said, and I don't blame him for this, but he said, you can't pitch for us.
Wow.
And that's when I decided that I probably should transfer.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't blame him. I went in as a first baseman. I blossomed late as a pitcher. I didn't hit very well. And, you know, I just threw garbage innings. And that guy, you know, has to feed his family. He's got to make a decision for himself. And he didn't think I was going to be the guy for him. So that's when I actually transferred to the school in Kansas, Cloud County Community College.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that's where things started taking off for me.
Wow. That's amazing, eh? Like the hurdles you got to face along the way. And then you, like a lot of athletes, and especially players who were trying to develop in any sport, COVID, you know, shut down seasons or limited seasons. And then you had Tommy John surgery.
I had Tommy John before COVID.
You had that before.
Yeah.
I thought you had it after. Okay, so you had it before.
Yeah.
All right. So everybody says Tommy John, Tommy John. Tell me about how you knew you needed it and what you went through and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I didn't know I needed it for probably a month or two.
Okay.
It was my second last start at Cloud County, and I was throwing fine, and you know I threw 6 or 7 quality innings, and then it was the next morning I just woke up and my arm was just stuck.
No way.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, this ain't great. But you know, bless that staff, but especially the training staff. But we didn't know any better. Threw my elbow in some ice, and you know did that all week, and then I was 6 days later I was starting again. And that's when I noticed something was probably wrong. My velocity was way down. My feel for the ball was way down. But nothing really hurt, so that was the weird part. And then through that start, and then we made the decision for me to not throw in playoffs.
Okay.
I was not going to help the team. We had 3 better options than me. And that's kind of when the mystery of my elbow started, because I was still throwing, trying to stay ready for the draft, but I couldn't throw the ball very hard for what I was supposed to.
Okay.
But again, like nothing hurt. Saw a doctor, got an MRI, nothing's wrong. Gave me a bunch of anti-inflammatories, nothing was wrong. Or that helped, you know, get my range of motion back. But we didn't really know what was going on until after I got drafted. And it was when I met with the Padres doctors, and they had a little bit more, you know, knowledge with elbows and maybe a better MRI machine. I don't know. But that's when, about a month after I got drafted, that's when they said, you know, you need Tommy John.
So how long did you not pitch then or throw?
Like 2 months.
Yeah. But you're not. How long till you were back to quote unquote normal?
Oh man. I got surgery in July of 2018, and I wasn't cleared until October of 2019.
Wow. Over a year.
Yeah.
But a lot of
You do the
pitchers
math.
go through that,
I wasn't
right?
going to make fun of
No,
her.
but
Make
a
myself
lot,
an ass.
No, it's okay. But a lot of pitchers go through that, eh? Like they you just got to accept that it takes that long.
It's a ridiculous amount of pitchers in the big leagues have had it.
Yeah, it seems like it's something that is now becoming, like, if you're going to pitch as a profession, that's inevitable, like almost like that, would you say?
Yeah, and I think that's just a product of, you know, you tell a guy, hey, you throw 92 right now. You could probably throw 95 with some tweaks, but your, you know, risk of injury goes up 10%. Not a single guy is going to turn that down.
Yeah.
It's just we're probably getting to the point of maxing out what the human body might be able to do.
Right.
And we're just putting so much stress on that. It's such a tiny ligament in your elbow.
Yeah.
So much stress on it. And
But now
sometimes
it
it
never go
happens.
wrong again, right?
Incorrect.
Okay, that's bad.
I've had Tommy John twice.
Yeah, okay, I was wondering about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why. So was there a Tommy John after COVID?
There was. Yes.
Okay, that's what I'm sorry. That's
No
what I was
worries.
thinking of. I forgot about the one before.
Yeah.
Okay. So you had to go through that twice then.
I did,
And
yeah.
like, was it also a 15, 16-month recovery?
Yeah, the second one I got in October of 21, and I didn't pitch in a game till May or June of 23.
Oh.
Yeah, it
You
was
must have
the
been going
second
nuts.
one. The second one, you don't start throwing, like even playing like catch, for an extra 2 months, because right, it's your second one. You probably want that one to work.
So going through this process, and you're drafted, you know, like you said, by the Padres, and then right after that, they realize you need Tommy John. What does that feel like? Because there's a lot of pressure on you as a draft pick. You want to perform well. You want to move up the ladder with this organization. Then to have one Tommy John and then to have it again. How is that to deal with emotionally for you as a competitor to be on the shelf?
Well, I'm very lucky that I got about 2 months of high A ball in 21. If I hadn't have, I threw pretty well. I figured, man, I can pitch in professional baseball. Like, not thinking big leagues yet. I'm just thinking, like, maybe I can make a career of pitching in the minors. If I didn't do that, I probably wouldn't have even got the second one. Because it was just like, who wants to look at another 15, 16 months of not doing it, just sitting in Arizona baking, and because that's where the spring training complex was, right? You spend another summer at 120, you can only do so many of those. But yeah, I'm just the way it worked out. I actually consider myself lucky.
Yeah, no kidding.
I know a few guys who got one surgery and never even got to pitch in a game again, and I know some guys who kind of had a similar thing as me. Get it done once, and then immediately have to get it again, and that's usually a career ender.
All right, you're going to stick around for another segment because we want to talk about getting called up and pitching in the playoffs and all that kind of stuff. Erik Sabrowski joining us in studio. If you have a question for Erik,
send it in
780-218-9999 or throw it into the nasty chat. We'll try to get to as many of those as we can, and we got a bunch of questions for him as well, and he's probably excited for McDavid coming back to the lineup this evening too.
Yes, I am.
We'll have a break and a sports update first. Okay, thanks a lot for checking out the Reid Wilkins Show with Jay Milne today. Erik Sabrowski, Edmonton native from the Cleveland Guardians, in studio. Give us a thumbs up on YouTube as we're with you until 5:30. Then it's the Oil Stream pregame show. All right, Erik, we got a lot to cover here. Thanks for going over your journey and your surgeries and showing us how to hold somebody. So like, oh, Reid, you got trolled by that other pitching coach.
100%. I think that is
what
might be the funniest thing.
To be fair, I may not even remember maybe it was more like that, and I don't even remember. Who knows? I'm not a baseball player.
Good back pedal.
Yeah, whatever. All right, so you got called up. Tell me about that moment.
I was in a hotel room in Atlanta, Georgia, with my fiance and her dad, and we were just hanging out, playing some cards after a game, and my phone rang. And when I saw it was our manager, he doesn't normally call people, a couple hours after a game, so kind of figured what was going on and, just answered it. And it's as simple as, hey, man, you're going to big leagues, pack your stuff. You've worked hard for this. Make sure you get in there early, shake Stephen Vogt's hand, have fun.
Did you think you were close?
Probably about an hour earlier, I got mad at myself because I thought I was close. And I was like, it's not happening today. Because, you hear all these stories of guys getting called into the manager's office after a game. Mm-hmm. And that's when you find out. And, the team, you celebrate a little bit with the team. And with some of the things that happened in the big leagues, some pitchers who threw extended stuff, I was like, oh, maybe it's my turn. And then was looking for the manager after the game. You want to talk to me? You want to talk to me? He kept walking right by me, and I was like, what are you doing? Like, be where your feet are. Like, don't get out ahead of this. You can focus on this too much and get discouraged. And funny enough, my phone rang like an hour later, and it's just part of an awesome story.
Okay, so in KC was the first appearance?
Yeah,
September
but
4th?
I was up in the big leagues for 11 days before I threw.
Oh, jeez. Just hoping.
Yeah, warmed up a few times in Cleveland, didn't get in, and it was.
Okay, so you finally get called into a game. September 4th at Kansas City. I think late in the game you guys lost 4-1. Mm-hmm. But nonetheless, what do you remember? Like, was there time to take it in, or did you just have to focus on your job? Yeah,
so big league stadiums are a lot bigger than minor league stadiums. There's, a third deck, 6-7 times the capacity of some places. And I had this plan in my mind, like, keep my brim low, run out there, don't get lost in the lights, don't get lost in, the upper deck, and it's still a baseball game. And I'm like halfway to the mound, and I look up. Fortunately, I'd been to Kansas City a few times, like, seen a few games there, been on that field with a pre-draft thing, so it wasn't completely unfamiliar, but still it was, all right, it's go time. And was probably a little too excited for my first pitch. I don't know if you saw that.
I don't remember it.
It went straight off the backstop, missed everything.
Oh, was that okay?
And
Then you fought back, and you
fought back.
Yeah,
I did. But I was a little excited. Got to 3-0, and fortunately I struck the guy out. But it's a funny first story. Not many people can say they threw their first pitch off the bull and then struck a guy out.
And you did not give up and earned a run, or earned or otherwise, in the regular season, correct?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm checking your stats right here, and then you only gave up one in the one earned run in the postseason as well. So you got a pretty good record.
Well, and I mean, let's go there. Let's go there next. I mean, now you're in the MLB playoffs.
Yeah.
You're pitching. You're being called in. Now, did you feel, okay, I got this, or is it still, even if you'd been pitching for the last 8 years, and do you think you'd have the same amount of nerves as you would going into the playoffs?
I think it helped me that I had been so fresh of a call up. Every game felt, like do or die for me. Every game was really excited for, and there was a little bit of nerves. So it wasn't too foreign being in the playoffs, just because I think I threw 8 times in the regular season. It pretty much felt like I'd thrown 8 times in the playoffs already, just for how jacked up I was myself.
Well, and given the position, right? I mean, that's always go time.
Yeah.
When you're coming in and you're getting the call. Now, I gotta ask. I mean, when you go from the minors to the big leagues, this is the big leagues. This is it. Like, are there better selection of protein bars in the clubhouse? Is there private chefs at your disposal? Like, seriously, honestly, like, what is the big differences?
At one point, I ate a ribeye 12 days in a row.
Yes, that's what I'm here for. Yes,
There is never not great food. Like, whether pregame, postgame, in the morning when you show up, when you get on the plane, during the flight, like, there is always food available, and it's usually pretty good.
well, yeah, they got to keep you. They got to keep you
That's
going.
amazing.
Now, Maddie's filling in for us at producer today. Big Yankees fan. Now, did you ever face any notable Yankees that you could talk about?
Yeah, a couple of them. Giancarlo Stanton hit one about 700 feet off me. It was, if you're going to give up, it was the first run I gave up in the big leagues.
Wow.
If you're going to give one up, it's a pretty freaking cool one to give up, man.
Yeah.
Like in Yankee Stadium, in the playoffs, I wasn't too upset about it. But yeah, struck out Juan Soto, struck out Aaron Judge, got Stanton the second time, struck him out. So he's 1 for 2. We're even.
Did you go track down the ball?
No, man, it was in space.
So Yankee
Still hasn't-
astronaut got
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
Still hasn't hit the ground. Hey?
So
Yeah.
what's Yankee Stadium? Were you heckled in the pen, or
yeah.
like just nonstop?
They're probably a little over the line sometimes, especially to the family section. Some of that stuff wasn't awesome, but to the players, it was fair game, and it was so like before the game starts, the bullpen walks across the field to the bullpen, obviously. And I don't know if the Yankees do this on purpose or not, but our bullpen, Cleveland, we were the only people on the field, and 45,000 people were booing us.
Right.
And it was awesome. It was, they're not just booing me, but I'm like, man, they're booing me. Like, what's the line? They don't boo nobody's kind of thing, right? Like, it was so cool of like, I'm in the playoffs. I've made it. This is like, it won't get any better than this. And then about 10 feet before I got to the bullpen, I made eye contact with a fan sitting in the first row. And he flipped me off for that whole 10 feet, just stared me in the eyes, flipped me off, and all I could do was chuckle. Like, it's hilarious. Like,
Yeah. What do you do?
what do? You can't do anything back to the guy. You just laugh. It's like, good for you, man. You really love your Yankees, and your Cowboys and your Lakers and things
Yeah.
like that.
That's a great story. What a welcome to Yankee Stadium. Just getting flipped off.
Yeah.
All right. I want to hit on a few other things with you here as well. And thanks so much for coming in, Erik Sabrowski, with us. I always ask this question of Edmonton athletes who get to go play around the world or wherever. What, if anything, do you tell your teammates about Edmonton, or what do they ask you?
We have a good hockey team.
Yeah.
Don't visit in the winter.
Right.
And Yeah, it's pretty dark and
But
pretty
there were
cold.
things like a teammate's asked just, and you're like, come on, man.
Man,
Like, don't. That's not true.
You get in baseball, and there's a lot of guys from down south and stuff,
Right.
and you pull up a map to show them where Edmonton is. They cannot believe how far north it is.
Okay.
And I know there's plenty of people north of us, but to a guy, I got a buddy from Decatur, Alabama. He cannot believe where Edmonton is. And the first time I ever showed him, he goes, "People live there?" Like, yeah, man, it's a city of 1 million people. Like, we got it going on up here. They just can't believe it.
Well, speaking of being here, and obviously we discussed in the break there, but a big event happening here at the this month is your. Well, why don't you tell everybody and tell us a little bit about the story of how you guys met and just what it's like, being with you for her.
Yeah, I'm getting married the end of November here.
Congrats.
To my lovely fiance Renee. She's a superhero. The things you have to go through when you're engaged to a minor league baseball player are incredible. And then, thankfully, Major League Baseball player. She's driven across the United States. She's packed apartments in 2 hours. She's flown here to there on a moment's notice. It's just, I wouldn't be able to do a lot of this stuff without her. And, knowing that she's by my side and in my corner, it makes my life a lot easier. And sometimes at the expense of hers, but, I'm very grateful and fortunate to have her.
So would any teammates or people from that you've met through the baseball or some teammates from down south, would they be coming to this wedding possibly?
I think it's American Thanksgiving. So
Oh, geez.
we got a lot of no's and we got a tight guest list already. Would have loved to have them, but
is she also privy to the 12 ribeyes in a row? Once this thing becomes official.
They treat the wives and girlfriends incredibly. Really? Like they flew them all out to New York for the series from Cleveland. They have their own suite at Progressive Field. They got all the same thing, all the food you need. I'm sure a lot of all the wine you need, things like that. Yeah, they just do it right. It's the big leagues. They put on a show.
All right, a couple more before we let you go. You were at the Oilers-Flames game in Calgary on Sunday. What'd you think? Did you love going into
Cowtown? It was fun being behind enemy lines. First period, third period were great. Second period, me and my friends, we kind of changed seats and realized we might have screwed up the mojo. So we switched it back for the third. That place is quiet. It's incredible. Like, I don't know. They got to get loud on the scoreboard every whistle.
Right.
It was, I don't know. I don't think hopes are very high in Calgary right now, and that kind of makes me happy.
Okay, so sorry, where were you pitching during the Cup run?
I was in AAA. I was, in Omaha. I was in Columbus. Where else were we? I was in a few different places.
So were you able to fall? Like, what was it trying to be an Oilers fan while you're mid-season and places that maybe don't watch a lot of hockey?
Watched a lot of third periods.
Right.
That's about it. I was in Worcester, Massachusetts. Threw a ball up to a kid so he would tell me the score.
No
He's a
way.
smart kid, right? I'm like, hey, man, can you tell me the score of this hockey game? And he said, I'll do it for a ball. And
He said
pretty
that?
easy. Yeah.
He had the
Smart
gumption
kid.
to say that? Well,
Bullpen kids they're a different animal. They know what they're doing. They are incessant sometimes, but it's fun.
do you have enough tenure to where you get your own, you get the song when you get called onto the field?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Not
So
yet.
at what point does that, become where you can ask for that?
I'll let them come to me with that.
Okay, now
I don't want to, jump the gun.
So when they do, because you're moving in the right direction, things are going well. What is the song that Erik Sabrowski comes out to?
Oh,
Put me on the spot. Probably some sort of hard rock, something that gets me going a little bit. If I have to pick one off the top of my head, I'll go like Animals by Nickelback.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just some good guitar, fast paced. Maybe get the crowd going a little
Yeah.
bit. That's what I'm looking for.
I like that. Reid is a big Def Leppard guy
I am.
himself.
Okay.
I don't know if I've heard of them. I'm pretty old.
Seen some of their music videos.
Yeah,
They're-
they got
they're-
music videos. Yes.
Yeah, they're in black and white, right?
Yeah, most of them are in black and white. That's great. Okay, so I know I asked you this off air, but I'm always curious about this too. Off-season training, how active or throwing are you right now?
Not throwing yet. I'll start shortly. The biggest thing that for me I focus on in the off season is regaining strength and mobility that was lost, throwing 75 innings during a year.
Oh, okay.
And near the end, I do my best to work out twice a week during the season, but especially near the end of the year, the frequency and intensity probably drops off a little bit. I tell myself to stay fresh, or that's my excuse.
Yeah.
So it's go time. It's getting back after it, and only have 3 months before I got to be throwing to batters again. So it's short, but it's important.
So you're 6'4"?
Sometimes.
So most of the time?
6'3".
6'3".
Yeah.
And what's an ideal playing weight for you? I guess
240.
Yeah.
235, 240.
Depending on how many
I'm not fooling anyone. I'm not a small guy, but it's mass equals gas. That's what you tell yourself.
Throwing heat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Need some size. Well, speaking of throwing heat, we had a discussion here
my
earlier.
God.
And, if you were to gas me 6 fastballs, controlled, no movement, say, do you think I could catch all 6 of them?
Well, I'd have to hit your glove 6 times in a row.
Let's
Which
say
I don't know if I can do that. Sometimes you get lucky and the batter swings and misses, and you missed your spot by a foot or two.
What kind of what's the highest, the fastest pitch you've ever thrown?
I've gone up to 96 before.
Wow.
Yeah.
I couldn't even react, hitting or catching. I'd just be like, "Oh, that was the ball." But catching, I'd probably be injured.
Well, I guess we'll never know because I don't want to hurt him. Okay. So
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't wanna
fragile,
go
man.
through
All
this
right.
right now. I'm up for the challenge, Eric, as you know. But safety.
I appreciate
first.
your patience.
Yeah, we'll get you next time. You
Yeah.
know?
You gonna watch the game tonight? You got time? What are you?
I am going to watch the game tonight.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
All right, big boost getting McDavid back.
I hope so.
Should be.
Might be a little soon, but it's all when you can get the best player in the world in the lineup. I think you're doing something right.
Eric, we'll first of all the best with your wedding later this month. We'll have to try to maybe talk to you in January or something before you head back to the States, because I know it's probably be hard for you to do stuff in season. Mm-hmm. But this is an absolute honor to have you in. I think you're a great local success story and an inspiration. I mean, not just to young baseball players in Edmonton, but to any kid who's dreaming big about a career in sports. So thanks for sharing your story, talking about getting called up, talking about playing the Yankees. This was an absolute blast.
Thank you for having me.